Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making a tablet holder. Well, truth be told, my wife was looking for a tablet holder. She uses her iPad in the kitchen with recipes and whatnot, and she was kind of hoping to have something to sit upright. And I Googled images of wooden tablet holders, and there's all kinds of designs out there. But there was one little guy that kind of struck me funny, and in a way it seemed kind of fun, and I thought it might be a good idea for the show. Now it's going to take a little bit of artistic ability on your part, but of course I don't think it's anything that's out of reach. So to start this project off, I guess we're going to head to the bench and I'll show you what kind of an idea I have in mind. Well, like I said, I can't take the credit for this particular idea, but I will be doing my own design of it. The basic principle is you're going to have a base, and that base will have a slot in it that will support your iPad or tablet or what have you. From there, as your tablet sits on an angle something like this, what we want to see now is this kind of a thing with a little character here. And like I said, I don't think it's above anybody's artistic abilities. It's not a realistic kind of a drawing, but he'll basically be holding your iPad because he's that much of a nice guy. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but he's kind of a cute little fella there that holds your iPad. So I think what we're going to start with is the base, and I have some scraps of the curly maple that I used in my hand plane build, and I think we're going to start with that in making the base. Well, we're going to start off with the base, and I have a piece of curly maple here that's 3/4 of an inch thick, and I'm going to take it over to the table saw and rip it to a width of 3 1/4 inches. And while we're here at the table saw, I'm going to change to a cross-cut blade and square off the one end of the stock and then cut it to a length of 7 inches. So with our base piece, we now want to determine what kind of an angle we want the iPad to sit at, or your tablet, whatever you want to call it. And I've determined that this angle here looks fairly comfortable. And when measuring that angle with this particular little protractor gauge, I'm getting 25 degrees. So we have the angle now that we want our iPad to be sitting at. Now the question is, how thick is the iPad? And when I throw a set of calipers on there with my case, it's 7/16 thick. So I'm going to turn that up to a 1/2 inch to give me an extra 1/16 of play. And the whole process here is that I want to now, 1 inch back from the front edge, I want to cut a 1/2 inch wide groove that will be on a 25 degree angle, and I think I'm going to make it 3/8 of an inch deep, so it will be half of the distance of our base piece. So for that, we're going to head to the table saw again with that cross-cut blade, and we're just going to nibble away at it cut by cut until we get the thickness that we would like to have. Well, that's our groove cut, and we've got a bit of a problem. This is called rookie mistake, and I guess I need to pay attention too, because how the heck is this going to work? Somebody, and I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to mention any names, but his initials are me, cut the groove on the wrong angle. We should have had our miter fence on the other side. I'm not too concerned at the moment. I'm going to switch it up and put it on the proper direction on the opposite end of the board. And of course, by doing that, I'm going to have to shorten up this end. I think it'll still work out. What I'm going to do is to correct this problem. And again, we got problem solving happening here, no big deal. Instead of coming back 1 inch from the edge, I'm going to come back 1/2 inch, and that will still leave me with 5.5 inches to support the tablet, and I think that will still be plenty at a 25-degree angle. So I'm going to correct the problems here, and hopefully by my mistake you guys are going to learn not to do that and pay attention to which way your angle is running. Well, there is our recently repaired base, and we can see that it's still plenty to hold the tablet as far as the back support here. So what did I end up with on the length? I ended up with 5.25 inches. So it's still plenty to support the piece, and actually it's not so cumbersome. So, I don't know, live and learn, right? So we've got some grooves down in the bottom here now, which were left from the teeth. And I'm just going to get in there with a sharp chisel and let's clean those up and make it a nice flat surface. Well, I finished cleaning up the inside edge here, and I've also just sanded this one sharp edge along the inside here, just to make it a little softer. So for now, we're going to put this base aside, and we're going to work on our pattern of our little guy that's going to hold this iPad. Well, I'm going to be making a template. I don't know how many of these I'm going to end up making. Once people see them, I don't know if they're going to be asking me for them or not. I'm just going to make a template to make it easier in case I should have to repeat it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a center line here. And I know it's not centered, but what that center line is for is to give me a reference point for my protractor. And from there, I am going to draw or mark our 25-degree angle, because the angle of this guy holding the pad has to be the same as the angle of the slot that you cut. You can't have them being different. So we'll just line up with our center and with our 25-degree angle there, just like this, and we're going to draw our mark. Now that is our 25-degree angle. I also have a 1/2 inch piece or 1/2 inch thick piece of the curly maple. This is what our little guy is going to be made from, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark down along the edge here, and this is how much space we have to work in for our piece. So not a problem. This is where we're going to mark. This is our marking area to be able to draw this little guy. You want to keep them facing the right way. Don't like we did originally. So this here on this side that we just marked, this is actually going to be our iPad. So I'm going to remark that 25-degree just to make sure it's got a nice crisp line, and then from there we'll start sketching out our little guy. Well, the first thing that we're going to want is his head. And I think his head should be a circle. It's a pretty predominant part of the design. So I'm going to make his head 1.25 inches around. And again, this design can be tweaked as we go. So I'm not even sure where we're at here on the height, but again, we're just sort of flying by the seat of our pants. This is a fun project, not a technical one. So here we go with the head. Now look at that artistic ability. Boy, if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye. Now it's just sketching the little guy. I mean, this isn't rocket science. You don't really have to, you really don't have to go crazy on this. But let's just sketch him out and see how we make out. Just going to remove this clamp just to give me a little more room to work. I think his head, like I said, will be like a predominant part of the design, but we just want to come down something like this, and then his shoulders will angle back sharply, and that will connect to our iPad. Now this 25-degree line now becomes the edge of his shoulders, that, or his arms, that will hold the iPad. And again, we just circle this around to make his arms. You're not trying to make a detailed drawing here, you're trying to make a stick figure. And he's more of a suggestion really than anything. He's not an actual figure. So then we have his little butt there. And let me just get a ruler, because I think I'd like a straight line coming down for his leg. So then his leg will come straight down like that. Just like that. And again, this is all up to you. You don't even have to have it being a little man. He could be whatever you want. So his knee will be about there. We're just going to bring this up. His knee will bend and it'll circle around to become his front leg, which is really reaching out there and bracing this heavy iPad. Just like that. It's your design. You do as you please with it. And if you're not sure how to do it, well, I'm not sure what to tell you. Do whatever looks good to you. I think there's our design. I don't know if you can see that very well. He might need a little bit of tweaking, and I'm going to do that. And then we're going to cut this template out on the scroll saw. Place a number 3 reverse tooth blade in here, and that's plenty to cut this 1/4 MDF for the template. Just cut it out to the best of your ability and try to keep this angle as proper as we can. And now it's time just for a test fit of our little guy, and he'll sit something like that, and then the iPad will sit just like this. And you can see there, maybe not because of my fingers, but you got your little guy there supporting your iPad. Kind of a cute little design. From here, what I want to do is now transfer this piece here onto my piece of 1/2 inch thick stock. But what I'm going to do is I want to leave 3/4 of an inch below this piece because I'm going to attach him onto here with some mortise and tenon. So hopefully you can see here at the bottom of the piece, I've drawn a line 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. And as I said, that will be for mortise and tenon joinery that will mount this little fella to our base. So you've got your template. I'm sure you can all do this part. We're just gonna trace around them just to get our pattern marked onto our stock, just like this. And we don't need a big tenon to join them, so we'll just measure for it in just a second. And there we have our little guy marked out. And from the base piece, we don't even really need to measure it very much, but I guess we could, just to give you some base measurements to work with. I'm going to tell I'm a little scattered here on this. We're going to do a 3/4 inch tenon on this side, on his back leg, and on this side here, well, we'll do another 3/4. We've got the room for it there. We'll do another 3/4 from there to there. No problem. And we'll just get our square and mark those off. And we're going to take them over to the scroll saw and cut them. You don't have to be 100% perfect with these tenons. They will be hidden in the base of our, hidden underneath our guy here. What I'm thinking I'm going to do now that I'm looking at it is I'm going to take this over to the table saw and I'm going to cross cut this here to nibble away some of the thickness and the tenon so that when he actually sits on the base, his cuffs of his pants will completely cover the tenon and hide any little imperfections that there might be. So at the table saw, I have nibbled away the last 3/4 of an inch on our board, and the height of my blade was 1/16. So effectively I've turned this into a 3/8 thick board at the base. So now I'm going to head over to the scroll saw, and just like you saw me do with the template, I'm going to cut our little guy out. I don't think you need another video of cutting this guy. It's the same as the template. So I'll cut him out and I'll come back and see you. Well, now it's time to position our little guy that's going to hold our tablet. Don't try to do this holding it upright and balancing it. Clamp it into your vise, and you can just sit your iPad just like that. You can hold it tight against this edge, and all you need to do is sit this fella on your top edge here, slide him along until he mates with your iPad, and once you get a good mating surface there like that, take away your iPad and mark the edges of, oops, I slid them there. Did you see that? No problem. Pay attention there. There we go. So line them back up again. Get a nice alignment. Once you're happy with that alignment, just like I said, without moving him, mark where your tenons are going to come down into your piece. And then from there, transfer those marks onto your top surface. Well, I've transferred those marks for the tenons on my piece, and we'll just hold our little guy up just to confirm that they line up, and they do. However, it goes this way. There we go. Still line up. And we now want this to be marked in the center. Well, we know that we have a 3/4 inch, or sorry, a 3 1/4 inch board and a 3/8 inch tenon. So if we come in from each side at 1 7/16, just like that, and then on this side here, 1 7/16, that will give us a 3/8 thick mortise right there. So I'm just going to double check those measurements to make sure that they're right. We're going to drill a blade entry hole, and I'm going to cut them on the scroll saw using a number 7 reverse tooth blade. A number 3 blade isn't going to cut it here, guys. 3/4 maple is a little tougher than the 1/2 inch. Well, these tenons are way too tight for my liking. That should slide in a lot easier than that, but I do like the cut of the tenon. I've got a really nice cut on both. So I'm going to sand these down and trim them up just a little bit. I figure if I take away those table saw ridges, we'll get a really nice fit and be able to get him to sit down there really nicely and get a really good joint there. Well, with the test, we can see that he fits really nicely there. I guess I just wonder now, can you access... look at that, we got a bit of an issue here. And that is, you can't access the button in the front of the iPad. I'm not too concerned about that. I think I'm going to just cut out a little notch there and we should be just fine. But it seems to be, working well as far as the stability of it, and we haven't glued it or anything yet. So there you go. We're going to cut a little notch in the front there to give us access for that button. I may even just take a sanding drum and just round that out just to make it a little cleaner. And as well, we're going to go through, I'd like to do a round over around the base all the way to give it a softer look. And we're going to sand this little guy to get rid of those sharp edges, give him more of a cartoony look kind of thing. So sand all that up, take that notch out of there, round it over, and then we're going to glue it together. And of course, the last step in the whole process is going to be gluing our little guy in. I can see that our tenons are a little proud, so that's all right. I'm going to leave that for now, and afterwards I'll use some sandpaper mounted on a block and I'll sand those flush. But we want to give the tenons a good coating of glue here, and we're going to slide them into place. Have all your stuff ready for the squeeze out to clean it up, and that will pretty much be it for this project, I guess. And there you have it. An iPad holder or tablet holder. Guys, this is a fun little project. It only took a couple hours to make. And of course, you don't have to have a little man holding it. You can make it an animal, make it whatever you want. Use your imagination. Don't think I have no artistic ability, I can't do this. That's not true. It doesn't have to be some big elaborate shape. You can see here, it's basically a stick figure with a big round head on him. He's nothing special, but it is a cute little iPad holder, and hopefully my wife will like that and it'll get some use in the kitchen. I may put some rubber non-slip feet on this just to prevent it from sliding around, and it'll definitely get a finish put on it in case there's any kind of moisture or whatever in the kitchen. You don't want that getting on the wood and of course swelling it or ruining it or whatever. Guys, give it a try. Fun little project, and I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm going to see you again next week with yet another woodworking video.